Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. Reverend Sarah Grady from St. Paul's United Church in Paris, Ontario, checking in. And how are you doing this week? It's been another challenging week, and brighter days are ahead, I am sure, though. And I want to talk a little bit today about something that's challenging when we study our scriptures, and that are the miracle narratives. This past Sunday, we had our guest preacher, Reverend Doug Peck of Brooksdale Kintore Pastoral Charge, talk about the wedding at Cana, the miracle narrative where Jesus turned water into wine. And I don't know about you, but even me, a person of deep faith, somebody ordained to the ministry of word, sacrament, and pastoral care in the United Church of Canada, someone who has studied the scriptures and done some really amazing work with some really amazing theological minds in my time of study, have a really hard time wrapping my head around the idea of a miracle. And it's something that we all struggle with. I think in particular, people who have prayed for a miracle, perhaps somebody that you loved was ill or going through a really challenging circumstance, and you prayed for a miracle for that person or for yourself and felt as though those prayers went unanswered. And that makes the miracle a really hard concept for us. It makes us really challenged to believe in what the Bible is telling us in these miracle narratives. I appreciated some of the thoughts that Brian McLaren had for us this week, and I want to offer those to you. He said, if you are skeptical about miracles in the Bible, you avoid some problems, but you have another problem, no less significant. If you're not careful, you can be left with a reduced world, a disenchanted mechanistic world. Really hard time saying that word. Mechanistic world where the impossible is always and forever impossible. You may judge the miracle stories in the gospel as silly legend, childlike make-believe, false advertising, or deceitful propaganda. But in banishing what you regard as superstition, you may also banish meaning and hope. That was helpful for me. I think that that's what the miracle narratives offer to us, is meaning and hope. When I think of the miracle narrative of Jesus feeding the 5,000, I don't know that Jesus necessarily all of a sudden produced fish and bread for every single person in the crowd that day out of just those loaves that were there. I think he modeled sharing, and it was made known in the little boy who came forward and offered that up to him. And then in the passing and breaking of bread, other people thought, well, yeah, I've got a little bit to share. And all of a sudden a miracle happened and everybody was fed, and there was enough, and there was even leftovers. It's what can happen when we believe the impossible is possible and when we seek to make it happen. I believe there are still everyday miracles. I think that there are certainly everyday things that happen in our world that are really difficult for us, that are earth-shattering for us. I mean, the loss of someone that we love, who we prayed would get better, or who we prayed would come back to us if we have a broken relationship, perhaps somebody who's broken up with somebody, or for those who have prayed for becoming parents who it's never happened for. There are lots of things that we pray that we see as a miracle, and when those prayers are not answered, it can be a really big strain on our relationship with God. I appreciated thoughts too from a minister in the United States who is the minister at Calvary Presbyterian Church in San Francisco, Reverend Marcy Altglass, who says, "We can notice miracles, we can ignore them, expect them, or explain them away. But when the miracles we pray for are not answered, what does this do to our faith?" It's a good question. And I think it's a really good one for us to wrestle with and think about this week. There are lots of ways that people can explain miracles happening to them, or tell you a story about a miracle happening to them, or a time they prayed for a miracle that didn't happen for them. That's one of the things we're asked to do this week, is share those stories. When did a miracle happen for you? Or when did you pray for a miracle and it didn't come true, or it didn't happen for you? A really great question for around the dinner table is For families, if you could have a magical power, what would it be and why? I think we often equate miracle and magical together. They're a pretty awesome thing. I'm going to link a post to this really great cartoonist that I follow called Lunarbaboon. And Lunarbaboon, and he has this really great comic strip, and he did this one comic one time titled Powers. And it's the beginning of the comic strip is superheroes fighting in the sky, and a father and son looking on, and the father says, "Cool," and the kid said, "Oh, I wish we had powers." And the dad says, "See that sad-looking guy with the ugly hat over there?" Kid says, "Yeah," and he says, "Watch." "Hey," he says to the man, "your hat is awesome, and you're awesome for wearing it." The man says, "Thank you." And then he turns to his son and says, "Now look at his face." And as we pan over, the man is smiling. And the father says to his son, "We all have powers." And the son says, "Cool." I love this way of thinking about life. I think it gives us some hope and meaning when we see little miracles in the everyday and how we can be a part of them. So I invite you into this space this week of thinking and reflecting on miracles. Please be in touch if you have questions, if you have stories to share, if you have something that's been weighing heavy on your heart that you need to talk through. And I'd be happy to sit and listen. I'd be happy to check in by text message, by email, by phone, whatever way you need to be in touch. That's great. Wherever you are this day, I hope that you are well. I hope that you are safe. And I pray that you feel God's love surrounding you in this time we continue to feel challenged by. And please let me know if there's anything you need. We'll talk to you soon, friends.